We're back with another Digitalk episode, and this one is all about company culture. I've sat down with our HR business partner, Zoe Bell, to reflect on the past 12 months in lockdown, our values as a marketing agency, the importance of employee development, and why our team is the best in the game. Zoe Bell, hello.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Pleasure. Right, so this is our 6th Digitalk podcast, and we're starting to get there, I think, and everyone seems to be quite nervous when they come on. Look, what we're trying to do here is showcase a little bit about CG, but also try and give other agencies, other businesses some tips, some decent takeaways. And I think that CG wouldn't be where it is today if we didn't have the HR function that we do. And for the size of our business, to have invested in that HR function like we have is not normal. And I think the theme that I want to talk about today is why, and also what. Because if you asked me 2 years ago what company culture was, I wouldn't have been able to answer. I'd have been able to bullshit my way through. So I think that's going to be my first question to you. What is company culture? Not CG company culture. What is company culture?
So obviously, being a people-focused business, it's really imperative to have an inclusive company culture, a learning culture which develops the people. Our employees provide that service to our clients. It's not a product, it is a service which is delivered by our people. So investing in our people and making them enjoy their life at work, wanting to come to work, being engaged and productive at work is just ultimately key.
So, company culture is everything to do with its people, how they're looked after, how they're trained, their enjoyment, their well-being. So let's break that down. And obviously we have to talk about the pandemic and how that's affected things, and then working from home and that. But so let's talk about the development side of things first, because let's talk about you. So you joined us, you had a HR background, but you've done what learning specifically have you done to develop yourself?
I did my level 5 CIPD qualification in human resource management. So I think with HR, the actual practical doing is more for your development. But it was really good to have that background to kind of give you confidence that you're doing the right thing, and obviously giving confidence in the staff to say that you have that accreditation by the CIPD, so they know the leaders of the business have got that background, that education and that qualification.
What are you doing at the moment?
So at the moment I'm doing an experience assessment to upgrade my CIPD membership to chartered status.
And I've got to do 45 minutes of writing on the back of that. But it's absolutely worth it. And I think, talking as the owner of the business, pre-appointing you, it was all down to me, and I was making decisions what I thought was best. Whereas now, I think the assets are twofold. One, I know it's a sounding board, but it's also knowing that I'm going to get counsel that is based on theory, and that theory is based on well-being and putting the staff first.
Yeah, I think when it comes to market and agency culture, I think a lot of people do think it is ping pong tables, early Friday finish. However, we do take a professional, inclusive approach to kind of employee wellbeing and development. So investing in kind of the development of our people gives that expertise and specialised service to our clients, because basically our clients come to CG because they have a gap within their business and where they fill that. and also having the development within our people and the expertise and specialisms, and be able to portray that and provide those results for our clients is especially important. And also, digital marketing agencies, it's very competitive with regards to employees and retention. So on average, there's higher employee turnover rates naturally, given the market, compared to the national average employee turnover. So it's really kind of maintaining we have those benefits for our employees and invest in their development, so we retain those staff and retain that skill set to provide the best quality of service to our clients.
And what's interesting though is what comes from that. So we have a culture that allows talent to shine, and Johnny's the perfect example here. He started as an apprentice, he pushed himself, we gave him the support, the training, the professional development, and now he's soon to be appointed to the board. And look, we've got dozens of examples of that. What's interesting is on the flip side, it's not for everybody. If you aren't of a certain level, you're not willing to really push yourself, you want things given to you, it doesn't work here. So that's an interesting dynamic that we have as a challenge, and the pandemic allowed a set of people that probably CG wasn't right for them to be on furlough, and then we had quite a quick period of staff churn because people realised, well, this isn't quite right for us. So we'll come on to that, because I want to talk more about the pandemic and how that's changed things for you.
Yeah.
And but I also want to talk about Glassdoor, because I want to hear your opinion on it, because we've never directly talked about it, but if you look at it, you can tell the honest appraisals, which, you know, some are 5, 4, 3 stars, depending on where they are, and there's good and bad, and I guess, you know, if this is for the record, we want to hear the things we're not getting right. It's only a set of human beings running this business. We don't get everything right. We did a staff survey, which was anonymous, to get that input, and it's obviously shaped what we've done, and we'll talk about the restructure in a bit. But then there are disgruntled people that it's not worked out and it's hurt their ego, and you can spot these false appraisals on Glassdoor straight away. Like, from a HR perspective, what do you as professionals, because I know you've got a network of, what do you think of it? And just the fact that you can't comment, you can't challenge it, there's no one to speak to. Like, what do you think about that? And also, anybody that's thinking about joining a business, would you look at Glassdoor? What would, you know?
I think about employee engagement, it's all about the employee voice. That's why internally at CG we do run staff surveys. We'll have performance management sessions regularly that give a one-to-one chance to feedback with your line manager, discuss any issues that you're facing,
development
plans, so we can support individuals with who through their work and life at CG. And I think it's all about kind of listening to your employees and really giving them the voice to project change within the business and have their say, so they feel a part of the culture and what's happening. I think,
what about Glassdoor though?
So I'll come on to Glassdoor. So I think what's really key is, if someone has decided to leave the business, we want to understand why and learn from their experience as to why they are leaving. That's the whole reason the restructure did come about, because we listened to employee feedback, we looked at exit interviews, we took a range of evidence to influence that restructure. And I think with Glassdoor, I think being a digital marketing and social marketing agency, it is fast-paced, it's demanding. So we put that support in place with, for example, wellness programs, the employee assistance programs, HR support that not many businesses of this size have. And we try to support employees as much as we possibly can, so they do go on and achieve. And at the end of the day, if they do feel like they've outgrown CG, I'm more than happy for them to leave and continue to follow their passions.
Look at Mark.
Exactly.
Right? So Mark loved CG. He didn't want to leave, but it was the right thing for him. I knew he'd have found it hard. I picked up the phone to him and said, "You've made the right decision because of the pandemic, we can't give you what you need." There's nothing makes me prouder, actually, when somebody comes in, reaches a glass ceiling, then goes and gets a job somewhere else. I don't like it, and I can count on two hands the people that have come in and left. And I've not wanted them to, but it's been the right thing for them. But then on the flip side, we've got dozens of people at CG that have come in at a level and grown and will continue to grow with us, and that you'll be part of that. So it's great. So, but let's talk about the pandemic. How's that changed things? Or why don't we start by talking about, from a HR perspective, how that affected you?
So obviously the pandemic was one of the biggest challenges I would say the HR professions faced in a very, very long time. I think what's key through is the process of change. So change is inevitable within any business. It's especially inevitable within the social and digital industries, which having the HR function and the organisational development tools within that to be able to adapt to change is really, really key. So we give our workforce the tools to adapt to the change. That was then escalated by the pandemic, where people's everyday working lives was changed within immediately. So we did implement,
it was overnight.
Yeah, it was. We did implement home working
earlier,
but then obviously
it was only a few days though.
Obviously, the pandemic then gave us that push. So adapting to change and giving employees the tools to adapt to that change, and also the support and, for example, giving the support of line managers how to manage remote teams, our content creation managers, making sure they can still carry out the content creation visits safely and know why they have to take extra safety precautions and the reasons for that.
We were doing risk assessments for something that we were doing 10 content creation visits a week, and all of a sudden we had to do risk assessments. Like it was a crazy time, wasn't it? I do think that the technology helped.
Definitely.
But we had to write a policy. Me and you wrote a policy on how to conduct yourself in a video call. If you'd asked me, in 2019, that halfway through 2020, I'd have be sat down with you writing a policy. It's just, I wouldn't have even thought about it. And I mean this, us making people keep their video on had a huge positive impact on people's well-being.
Oh, of course. I think it's good to be able, like, if you were coming into the office, you'd be able to see people. You can visibly see if people are struggling and they need that extra support. So if you're just speaking to someone, you can't actually see them. It's hard to give that support because you might not be able to see, like, their body language.
Their body language, even just the way that they're carrying them, like dressing themselves. We wanted people and I think it was like almost, some people potentially perceived it as being a bit draconian. We weren't. It was driven by care.
Yeah.
And because I remember ringing you about it, going, look, I'm worried about, I can't remember who it was that and trying to think about it, because we were going through it as well. Yeah. And I remember having to force myself to get changed, so I had a set of work clothes and then go out at lunchtime, because you're home, especially as we weren't allowed to leave. Now it's different for me because Lucy was pregnant, so we weren't just on lockdown, we were shielding, but I would still do that, so it was challenging, not just from understanding the different shit that Rishi Sunak was throwing out every 5 minutes and how that worked for us, but also, there was a resource management about when to bring people back, because you had to give people notice, and there was all this, even managing holidays. And I remember me and you chatting, going, do you know what? We need to ask some of these furloughed staff to take holidays, because by the time we bring them back, they'll have to go on holiday again.
Well, obviously for business continuity and operational, it does seem it's all about kind of the reasons why and explaining that to employees. So not just saying, oh, you need to take 5 days holiday by the end of whenever. It's explaining the reasons why, the business reasons behind that, and what it means for the individual and what it means for the overall business, because that's why then you get the buy-in to that and why people understand they have to do that. It's not just saying it for the sake of saying it.
But we did, and you did that in your comms. But it wasn't just you. You were, it was you driving it. But we embraced it as well. Like we did Friday catch-up sessions where we did interactive quizzes, and it was fun, and we still did awards and
the CG virtual cuppa. So it's really nice to, you might not talk to someone in a different department every day, but then you have that randomly, oh, well, we've got the CG virtual cuppa, and someone you haven't spoken to in a few weeks. It's nice to keep that connection, because if you were in the office, you'd be going to the kitchen making a cuppa, you'd bump into people. So it's still trying to replicate that when we were in lockdown, to keep, which is really important for the culture. And I think what is kind of key for CG is the people, because the people make CG.
And let's move on to the restructure, because that was, like we said, was driven by feedback from staff. It was driven by the fact that we wanted to constantly better ourselves. And basically, to summarise the restructure, we went from individuals doing a lot and being multidisciplined to going, right, we are going to give people areas of specialism and they can focus on that. And we delivered it. When did we first start talking about it? When did me and you have our first conversation prior to you pitching it to us? Because we had conversations, I reckon, 6 months ago.
We've spoke about this, I think, maybe going back even maybe 2019, but then obviously the interruption from the pandemic happened. So it happened over very quickly, because it was only February when I did my review paper with the proposals, kind of bringing all the evidence together. So essentially taking feedback from kind of employee surveys, focus groups, and even exit interviews. I put forward obviously the proposal and moved from kind of a wider job design with kind of a flat structure to a more specialised structure, because naturally you can see in our employees people have specialisms.
Yeah, so let's be, let's give some meat on the bones to that. So we now have community managers who specialise in kind of interactivity and what we call live work optimiser, so organic activity. We have social media managers that control output. We have paid specialists that run the ads. We have account strategists that deal with strategy and comms. We have a digital team that tackles SEO, PPC. We have web specialists who deal with web build, web maintenance, and hosting, and then they link with from a technical insight and data analytical side of things, and providing that function. So we have designers, and even within that we've got specialists in graphic design and animation. We've then got content creation managers. We've got a HR function. We've got an accounts function. We've got a sales function. We've got finance, and we've got a content marketing function. That's nuts. That there is, if someone says, "Oh, why do you charge what you charge for social media management?" It's like, because every single one of them touches your account on a virtually a daily basis.
And with the new structure, it's easier to develop into those specialisms, so develop those skill sets and make sure we are industry leading experts, and kind of give a set our career path with CG, moving away from that flat structure. And it's really good for the employee retention and our quality of delivery.
Because the only way you could progress, which was a gripe of mine, was to become a manager. And not everybody is
a people manager.
Exactly. Like in cricket, it's very rare that your best player is a successful captain, or often when they do become a captain, to be successful, their performance drops. It's only Andrew Strauss was the anomaly there, but I won't bore you with cricket analogy. So what's next? what's next for CG from a people perspective?
So I think for CG is kind of embedding a new structure in and being successful post-pandemic, and kind of sharing our success with the people of CG. And we have key values for our people, so it's always to continue that being an industry leader, to pick that marketing specialists want to be a part of. So it's providing the workforce with the appropriate skills, competencies, and be able to have that flexibility so they can adapt to the change, like the pandemic we've faced and other changes that happen in the digital and social world.
Well, it changes every 5 minutes. Like, you know, the pandemic has obviously moved consumer behaviour online. We've done well out of it. Happy days. But even another example is people have more time on their hands, so they're committed to TikTok, and then all of a sudden Instagram are like, shit, we need to get rid of the picture. They brought Reels in. Now all of a sudden there's a third outlet of required content that's quite labour intensive. We've got to get a real strategy in place.
Yeah, so we need to make sure our people are prepared for that and can adapt. So we are agile and just embrace that change. So we're going to give those innovative marketing solutions, which does improve kind of our quality of delivery, our sales opportunity and future business development, which in turn benefits our people.
Yeah, and I think any business owners listening to this who are debating whether or not to invest in a HR function, my advice is do it, and I hope we've given plenty of reasons why. That's great. Zoe, thank you for coming and talking to us about that. I think do you know what, it's been really nice actually to reflect a bit on the journey that we've gone on, having worked closely together on a lot of this the last year.
A lot's happened in the last couple
my
of years.
job's changed. You know, I went from being away all the time and growing the business to going back to working on ops, and that's changed. You know, so even for me, things have changed. It's changed so much, and I think we were able to adapt that change. One of the reasons is because of our people strategy. I think that's a better description than HR function.
Yeah. I think, and as well, growing the leadership within the business and the leadership development, it really does make a difference.
Absolutely. But more importantly, I have to ask everybody this question at the end. What is your Greg's order? I'm buying
Southern fried chicken baguette and a Red Bull.
I will. Brilliant. I wasn't expecting that. Southern fried chicken baguettes are real. They're the ones that have got. Are they the ones that have got sweet chilli in and jalapenos and onions?
Yeah.
Shit, I might get one of them for lunch, you know. All right. Well, look. Thanks so much for coming in. All right?
Thanks, Simon.
Take care. Bye.